Hello and welcome, everyone. So happy to have this conversation with each and every one of you. It is truly a privilege. I appreciate you looking into coaching certification and to exploring your options with the Center for Coaching Certification. Several of you did submit questions ahead of time, so I've got those. I think we're covering all of the different questions that came in. Of course, you are invited throughout the conversation to ask additional questions. The easiest way to do that is in the chat box. Some of you prefer the Q&A box. Either one, I'm happy to monitor both as we go. This is all about you getting the information that you want. So feel free, ask your questions. Yes, we are recording. It will go on YouTube. Occasionally, I have somebody that is brave enough to come on live and ask a question that way. I am happy to set it up so you can unmute and come in live. To do that, just put me a note in the chat box and I'll know to unmute you and invite you in live. To me, that's lots of fun. I know that because we're recording, it does make a difference to people. Good news is at the end of the conversation, I've got something special for you. So let's get started. We are talking about coaching certification. So the information that makes sense to explore is the definition for coaching, some statistics and insights about coaching as you're exploring it as a possible profession for yourself. We'll talk through the Staircase to Success coaching model, which is fabulous in terms of really understanding how the coaching relationship works. And we'll talk through the coaching process. We'll move into discussing pros and cons of certification. Of course, my bias is I want to say it's all pros, and I do recognize there are cons too. So we'll talk about that. We'll give you the reasons people share with us around choosing certification at the Center for Coaching Certification. We'll talk about what to look for in a training program, whatever you choose, opportunities for you as a coach, and then, of course, a good solid overview of the programs offered at the Center for Coaching Certification. The definition of coaching comes from the International Coaching Federation. Several of you had questions, so yes, we have information on them as well. To me, what's fun is to notice some of the words, particularly in this definition. And the first one that I want to call out is the word partnering. So it says coaching is partnering with clients. And that is significant because when you think about other service professionals, whether you're hiring an attorney, a mental health professional, a financial planner, an accountant, et cetera, we typically perceive that person as the expert. In a coaching relationship, we truly come in as partners. We see the client as the best expert for themselves in terms of what they want, what their opportunities are, what their barriers are, how they want to move forward. We come in as a partner with a process for exploring that fully and creating their strategies and plans. It goes on to call it a thought-provoking and creative process, which means it's fun. Coaching is absolutely exciting. It's amazing when you experience what happens for your client. It says that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential, the joy in serving other people so that they are their best selves and achieve what they want is absolutely amazing. The International Coaching Federation is a nonprofit organization made up of coaching professionals who are members. They are known as the gold standard in the coaching profession. So sometimes people come in with that question, do I have to get certified to be a coach? Technically, legally speaking, anybody can call themselves a coach, and we see a lot of that. The piece that complicates it is, for example, an athletic coach. What they do is very, very different than the type of coaching we talk about. And so it is identified as the greatest risk to the coaching profession when people doing the type of coaching we're talking about identify themselves as a coach because they don't know what a coach is. They haven't been trained. And the question that comes to to mind is to say, okay, if you're going to hire a financial planner, do you want to hire somebody with no training? Or what if it's a therapist? Do you want somebody who hasn't been trained, or an attorney, or anyone that is going to deal with things that are very personal and significant to you? So, of course, you want somebody that's trained. It makes sense. That is the reason the coaching profession is moving towards self regulation. ICF, the International Coaching Federation, is at the forefront of that. They're the gold standard. And what they do is give us our code of ethics. And in addition to that, members of the ICF are held accountable to that code of ethics. They give us our standards. And the standards are there in several places. Number one, they approve training programs. When you're thinking about coach training, the single most important thing to consider is ICF approval. We've had people come to us so frustrated because they did other training programs and then found out it didn't count toward what they wanted to accomplish. So do investigate that. They have a standard for members of the organization. They require 60 hours of training before you can become a member. And then they have standards for credentialing. And I know several of you are interested in what that process looks like. So we do have a detailed explanation of it for you. Here's what it is. First off, ICF membership. And if I give you an analogy for this, becoming a member of the ICF is much like saying, okay, I have my associate's degree. And that is, you have completed the 60 hours of training required to join as a member. Then you move forward, if you choose, in terms of earning a credential. The first level of credentialing, called the ACC, is much like saying you earned your degree as a coach. The 60 hours of training that you do to become a member are the same 60 hours of training required to earn your ACC credential. The additional requirements include that you must have 100 hours of experience as a coach, and you work with a mentor coach for 10 hours. During that work with a mentor coach, you're going to create a recording of yourself coaching, and that will be submitted and assessed to ensure you're coaching in keeping with the ethics and the competencies. When you successfully pass and complete each of these steps, they have you take what's known as the Coach Knowledge Assessment, an exam. Successfully passing that means you've earned that ACC credential. For those of you who are looking at the PCC credential, which is much like earning a master's degree, these 60 hours of training are part of the 125 hours required at the PCC level. The 100 hours of coaching experience are part of the 500 hours required for the PCC credential. The 10 hours of mentor coaching is separate. In other words, if you've already done it at the ACC level, you will do it at the PCC level. In that case, you're submitting 2 recordings of yourself as a coach. And then you're taking the exam. If you took the same exam at the ACC level, you don't have to repeat it. That's the good news. Now, for the MCC credential, please note you must earn the PCC first. So what that means is we're going to focus on these first 3 steps, because you're required to get to that PCC level and hold it for 3 years before you're allowed to consider going for the MCC. At the Center for Coaching Certification, what do these journeys look like? Your first step is our Certified Professional Coach program. That is a 30-hour training program. What many people like about this process is that you have a lot of control over your schedule, and then you're paying for the program as you go through it in terms of earning a credential. The other thing I'll share with you is that initial program. What I love to say is there's a value add whether or not you ever become a coach. We have so many people that come through the training that do it because they're a leader in the workplace and coaching is considered a competency for them to have, or perhaps they're in HR, talent development, organizational development, or any number of other fields that say, hey, coaching is a skill set for you to develop. Above and beyond that, for those of you exploring coaching, this is a way to really check it out and test it. You'll learn fabulous skills that serve you, whatever you do, and you'll really be clear on, hey, is coaching the right thing for me? And I know several of you were asking that question when you did your registration. The second step in the process is the Certified Master Coach Program. That's 35 hours of training. And it's incredible in terms of truly solidifying the experience and the process and moving you forward. When you take the master coach class, and yes, the certified professional coach class is a prerequisite, so you must start there. When you've completed the second level of training, then you are eligible for ICF membership and you have the option of joining. At that point in time, you're choosing if you want to continue on and earn a credential. And you have two directions. One is to move toward earning the ACC credential. And if you choose to do that, the next big part of what you're doing is getting experience as a coach. Sometimes people are working in an organization where coaching becomes part of the job. Sometimes you're going out and finding clients or volunteering and gaining those hours. ICF does require that 75 of the hours be paid coaching hours. What's nice about that is it means you start earning while you're in the process of solidifying your expertise as a coach. You move into your mentor coaching, and the mentor coaching must start and end at least 3 months apart. And during the mentor coaching, the mentor coach is working with you on creating a recording of yourself as a coach. What's important about that, when I work with people in the mentor coaching program, is when they submit it to ICF, they want to know it's good and that it's going to pass the assessing that happens. And so that's part of my role as a mentor coach, is to review that recording with you and talk about, okay, here's where you're demonstrating the competencies. Here are the reasons we think it'll pass or won't pass, and exploring that so that when you submit something to the ICF, you're confident it will pass. And when all of these pieces are verified and you pass that assessment, they'll invite you to take the exam, and successfully completing that is how you earn your ACC credential. You have the option of then continuing on to your PCC, or alternatively, you can go for your PCC from the beginning. You have choices. If you decide to go from the beginning, you take the Certified Professional Coach Program, the Certified Master Coach Program. You work on gaining your coaching experience hours. In this case, it'll be 500. You will also take the Certified Coach Specialist Program and the Coaching Experience class, because at the PCC level, you're required to have the additional training hours. You will work with your mentor coach, and in this case, you're completing 2 recordings of yourself coaching. Now, the CKA exam, if you took the current exam at the ACC level, you don't have to take it again at the PCC level. ICF is actually in the process of updating that. The good news for you is the new one will be in place by the time you get to that. So if you took it at ACC, you're already done. If you're taking it for the PCC level, you'll take it there. Either way, it's a one-time thing. And successfully completing that is how you earn your PCC credential. Hoping this clarifies the questions you had in terms of the journey for becoming a coach and what it looks like. Please feel free. If you have more questions, just put them in the chat box, put them in the Q&A, and I'll get to those and make sure we answer them. In the meantime, to share some statistics with you, coaching is the world's second fastest growing profession. IT is number 1, coaching is number 2. That tells us something. It's phenomenal in terms of what it is and how effectively it serves people. Forbes magazine did an article, and in it they said, do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. What I love about this is that statement is backed up by the research. Here's an example. Amico did a study, they're now part of BP, over a 10-year period of time. The longevity of that is fabulous. And here's what they found. The people that had a coach had improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and look at this number, 50% higher average salary increases. And the people with the coach attributed those results directly to the coaching. That's phenomenal. That is so exciting. And it tells us that the work of a coach provides true value to them, both to the organization and to the individual. Coaching is considered the organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. That was originally quoted by Dennison. We've heard so many people say it since. Harvard Business Review looked into the reasons companies hire a coach. And the number one reason, 48% of the time, is to develop high potentials or to facilitate transitions. You have somebody moving into a new leadership role, or there's a lot of change going on in the organization. These are the top reasons. And it truly makes a lot of sense. What's really fun is that the next highest reason was to act as a sounding board. Where this comes out most often is when you're working with somebody in the C-suite. If somebody is one of the high-level executives, they're not looking for somebody to help them write an action plan. They've already got that. What they're looking for is somebody that will challenge their thinking and expand their thinking, serve as that sounding board so that they really do process and consider different perspectives. They're making big decisions that impact so many different areas. And so having a coach as part of that sounding board is phenomenal. Now, interestingly enough, sometimes people still think, oh, well, coaching's, if there's something wrong. Well, let's be real. Coaching is an investment for this organization. So if they're investing in a coach for someone, it's because they want that person to be successful. As a matter of fact, as people are negotiating for different positions, it is increasingly common that they're requesting or negotiating for a coach as part of their hire package. That's exciting. Having said that, yes, 12% of the time, a coach is brought in to address a derailing behavior. What's important to consider is the context. Back to they're investing in that person. So what it tells you is they want that person to be successful. They see that person as having the ability to truly be effective in that organization. There's simply something getting in the way. And a coach is there to support that person moving past whatever that barrier is and fully embracing their own success in the organization. An interesting insight came out of this study, and that is 76% of the time, personal issues get addressed. And this number seems to continue to grow because here's the reality. When you are coaching somebody, whatever else is going on in their world at home with their health, finances, whatever it is, it does come to work with them. It does have an impact for them on the job. And so having the opportunity to address that gives them the space to say, okay, I've got that handled, and now I can fully focus on the workplace. And so it makes sense. And it's one of the added benefits of offering coaching in an organization is that people do have this opportunity. When an individual hires a coach for themselves, their reasons range. ICF did research on that. Here's what they found. They want to optimize their own performance or increase their own productivity, back to advancing themselves in the career. Very common is a desire to improve their communication skills. They're expanding their career opportunities. I think this one tells us a lot. They want to increase their self-esteem because ultimately we all struggle with self-esteem. It's a different amount at different times, and it impacts our effectiveness and our success. So the opportunity to support someone having healthy self-esteem is phenomenal. They're interested in improving their own work-life balance with everything that's going on, this makes so much sense. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs out there, whether it's because layoffs during the pandemic meant moving into working for themselves, or simply that was where they wanted to go. They're very up in terms of whatever product or service they offer. Having a coach is all about owning that business and their strategies for it. Fortune magazine put out an article, and here's what they said. Business coaching is attracting the top CEOs. Now, it says America. We know this is true across the world. And here's the reason. The average return on investment, and of course, that's in a very American-centric focus, is 600%. So for every dollar that they're investing in the coaching, they're getting back 6. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The bottom line impact of coaching, and there are a number of different studies. My guess is the one by Metrics Global was included in the quote you just saw. They looked at several. 529% return on investment. And when they looked at the financial benefits of employee retention, the ROI goes up to 788%. There isn't very much out there that gives us that much of a return on our investment. So that's exciting. Now, there's a very different study that looked at productivity. In the workplace, the go-to for productivity is training. When you do training plus coaching, you have 4 times the impact, because training alone is a 22.4% gain on productivity, whereas training plus coaching is an 88% productivity gain. Phenomenal. Public Personnel Management did that study. And here's one that backs it up even further. Xerox Corporation. They said if you do a training program and you don't follow it up with coaching, you're going to lose 87% of the skills change you brought about. That tells us how essential, how vital coaching is as part of the development inside of an organization. When somebody is deciding who to hire as a coach, what they're looking for is experience in a similar setting and a clear methodology. Now, sometimes people ask me, okay, if I want to coach an executive, are you teaching me executive? The reality is they want to know you've had experience in or around that space. And that's something you bring to the table. You've already got that experience. So what we're here for in a training program is the clear methodology. And that's what you want to combine with the experience, with the skills that you already bring to the table. This study came out of Harvard Business Review. And so let's play with it. When we talk clear methodology, what's coaching all about? How does it really work? We're going to start with an analogy for building a coaching relationship. And we're doing it in the form of a staircase. So if you're going to build the staircase, much like if you're going to build a coaching relationship, what's the first thing you do? Well, for the staircase, you put your framework in place. You got to get all those boards in the right spot. In a coaching relationship, what's that framework? It starts with training, just as it does with any professional out there that requires the level of skill necessary to be effective. During training, you're developing your competency as a coach, and you're learning the ethics for coaching. Most people come to coaching as very ethical people. What's important to note is there are simply differences because of what coaching is and how it works. And so it's absolutely essential that whatever training program you go to, you're learning the coaching code of ethics and what that means to you as a coach. Once you have your framework in place, we can start building steps. In coaching, the first step is the agreement. We talk about it happening in 3 phases. The first phase is a conversation about what coaching is and is not. The second phase is a formal agreement. Depending on where the client lives in the world, in most places, having a written agreement is the best practice. And in Some places that's insulting. And so it's a formal verbal agreement. It's based on what's appropriate for the client. Then the third phase of agreement happens every single coaching conversation where the coach is asking the client what they want to focus on, what they want to accomplish, how they will know the conversation was successful. So there's an agreement on that and on the agenda for the conversation. Then you're ready for the next step, and that's understanding. This happens on many different levels. Specifically, the coach is understanding the client, who they are, how they think, how they process, how they function. It's an awareness of their context and culture because all of that influences their thinking and their doing. It is also building a common understanding of what the client wants, what their opportunities and possibilities are, what the potential barriers are, so that you're truly supporting the conversation. And when you develop that level of understanding, and it's built on having an agreement, having the ethics in place, you're creating a safe space. And that supports the rapport between the coach and the client. And in a coaching relationship, that rapport is the number one indicator of success. From there, you move up to the communication that's happening. When you have rapport, that level of trust, the communication is so much deeper. It is an opportunity for the client to truly be heard and understood. The coach is listening deeply and listening on many levels and listening cumulatively over time. And the language that's used is clear, direct, and positive. And the coach is asking questions, powerful coaching questions. This in turn supports the exploration, where the client is truly exploring the different possibilities, what may or may not work, and how they're going to move forward, which supports the step of strategy. Their strategies for moving forward and their specific actions for how they're doing that. This in turn supports the client moving to the doorway called success, and success is defined by the client. This analogy describes the relationship. Now let's talk about the process for the coaching relationship itself. The first thing, very common best practice, is what's called an introductory session. In an introductory session, the client has an opportunity to experience what coaching is like, a mini coaching, if you will. And in that mini coaching, the client and the coach are getting to know each other. And one of the things they're both considering is this a good match? Is this connection going to truly serve the client effectively? That's a big part of that introductory session. When both the coach and the client say, yes, this works, we click, we get along, we're going to have a good relationship, it is going to serve the client, then you move forward. And the next step is what we call an opening session. And during that opening session, it's a big picture exploration of what the client wants in all different areas of their life. And the reason that's significant is because clients sometimes have competing priorities. They'll have influencing factors. It's a way to truly understand the client, who they are and what's important to them in all different areas of their life. From there, there's a very exciting process that we provide. It supports the client staying focused and engaged in moving toward their own goals. Think about it this way. We all know people who have had a New Year's resolution and 2 weeks later can't even remember that resolution. This is all about keeping them connected with their own priorities, their own goals, and putting in the effort, because achieving that success takes work, and being motivated and focused on it supports them being successful. Then on an ongoing basis in every coaching session, The coach is asking the client what they want to focus on, getting clarity in terms of the measure of success for the conversation, what has to be talked through to get that success, what that means to the client. And then, based on what the client focus is, the coach is partnering with the client to strategize their thinking, reflect on different perspectives, figure out what makes sense for them, and develop their own action plan. And then ensuring that they're set up to monitor progress and to recognize success along the way. The average coaching relationship lasts 12 months. Having said that, some are shorter, some are longer. It is a common best practice in coaching to have a minimum commitment to 6 sessions because it is a process and it takes time. At the same time, it's about what serves the client. So when a client is complete, whether because that's how many sessions were in the budget for them, or it's because they did achieve what they wanted, whatever else it is, when you move toward ending the coaching relationship because it's complete, it's important as a coach that you're setting up the client for the long term. How are they moving forward after coaching? And we do a closing session where it's looking back and saying, okay, what was accomplished along the way? What was learned along the way? What's the application of that? And while it's a closing session, we are clear with the client that when it serves them again, the door is open for them to come back. And please note, clients do come back. Sometimes they come back 6 months later. Sometimes they come back 6 years later. They do come back. This gives you a diagram of the coaching process, and it's something that you learn when you go through coach training. ICF did a study in 2017 on consumer awareness, and 83% of the individuals who had a coach said it was important for that coach to have a certification or a credential. That number continues to grow. People are aware, they're noticing the difference between somebody who is certified, trained as a coach, and somebody who simply calls themselves a coach, because there is a significant difference. So what are the pros and cons of getting certified? The cons, literally the things that get in people's way, are time and money. Absolutely makes sense. Whatever profession or career you go into, these are big considerations. The education required for that career and the money you invest in getting that education. Those are the biggest things. And when we think about it, given the power of coaching and how it helps us at home, at work, in our communities, it's a skill set that makes sense for all of us to develop. And the biggest barriers are time and money. On the pro side of certification, it is a tremendous opportunity for advancing your own career. The reasons for that are many. Some of the basic ones, we talked about coaching being a skill set that leaders are expected to develop. If you want to move into any kind of leadership capacity, it absolutely makes sense. In addition to that, there are jobs that request or require coaching certification. So for example, somebody in HR talent development, coaching is seen as a competency area for them. And of course, increasingly in organizations, there are jobs where coaching is actually part of the job. And so it's required to have that certification. It supports your success, whatever role you're in. It may be one of the skills you're expected to develop, and having the coaching skills, the certification, is an opportunity to advance yourself. In addition to that, for those of you looking at coaching as a part or full-time business, absolutely makes sense. When you're putting yourself out there, you want to have the credibility of that training and certification. When people talk about the reasons they chose certification with us, the things they've told us include credibility. I'll give you a hint of how to determine if somebody's credible. So wherever you go, of course, we're hoping you come with us, and wherever you go, you want to make sure it's a credible training program. They're interested in the coaching tools. In addition to what's provided during the training, we give you a wealth of tools after you complete your training, and that access is ongoing. Ongoing support in terms of continuing education, access to information, and opportunities. As a professional development opportunity, many people have a designation that they're required to maintain, whether it's HR, talent development, financial planning. We've had attorneys, mental health professionals, medical professionals. They have to have continuing ed. And they're able to use our training program because we're accredited as a continuing education provider. Personal development opportunities. In addition to coaching being a skill set that makes sense in most jobs, it's a tremendous personal value skill set. I often talk about being a better mom and grandma because of having coaching skills. And as a huge added benefit, when you complete training with us, we give you a dashboard from which you're able to give a number of different assessments at wholesale, and they come out with your name and logo on them. We're talking about assessments including the DISC, emotional intelligence, 360s. So it's a fabulous resource for you. In terms of the time and money considerations, let's boil it down for you. There are training programs that are a few hours. By the way, that's a red flag. It will not be approved by the ICF as coach training. Now, an interesting nuance to that, for example, we offer continuing education programs that are 12 hours. They're ICF approved as continuing education. That is different than being coach training. It is for people who have already done their coach training. There are programs that are up to 10 years, sometimes more, to complete. You're typically talking university and advanced in that way. At the Center for Coaching Certification, you have the opportunity to manage the time and the budget as you go and to move toward the level of credentialing you want. So the first training program, the Certified Professional Coach, is 30 hours. And the second, the Certified Master Coach, is 35 hours. We also offer the Certified Coach Specialist and the Coaching Experience classes for those of you interested in pursuing a credential. In terms of location, pre-COVID, many places, you traveled to them, they did it on site. Now with COVID, everybody's converted over. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we've been teaching online for over 11 years. We also have offered programs in major cities, and we do private groups as well, or inside of organizations. In terms of cost, when you see a program that's a few hours, you'll see a really low price point, and there is a reason for that. Alternatively, when you're talking to university, on the light end, it is $20,000 for that side of the program. And keep in mind that number increases over time, depending on how far you go with it. At the Center for Coaching Certification, one of the things we're interested in is keeping it accessible for the greatest number of people. For that reason, and because of how our business is set up, we're able to keep the prices low. The Certified Professional Coach program is $16.95. The Master Coach and Coach Specialist programs are $19.95, and the Coaching Experience class is $18.95. If you're interested in doing it as a credentialing process, if you want to move toward the ACC credential, that includes the professional coach, the master coach, and the mentor coaching, you have a discount when it's as a package. Now it's pro-con. It does mean an all-in-one price point. It does also save you money because you're paying it all in one. It means you're moving through all three programs with the same group of people. We also have a cohort for people that have already done their first 60 hours of training and they're looking to continue on to the PCC. That cohort is the Certified Coach Specialist program and the Coaching Experience class, plus the mentor coaching. And if you're one that wants to do all the way straight through to the PCC, that cohort includes all 4 of the training programs and the mentor coaching and supports you moving toward the PCC credential. So you've got choices, you've got options. In terms of what to look for, how do you know? We talked about credibility. Here's what I can share with you. The single most important thing to look for when you look for a training program is that it is approved by the International Coaching Federation. Now, on the pro side, there are hundreds of options, literally hundreds. It's actually somewhat overwhelming when you think about how many different options you have. That is your most important thing to look for. Something that we offer that's completely unique, and to my knowledge, we're the only ICF-approved program that offers it. We are accredited by the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training to offer CEUs. What does that mean to you? If, for example, you're in HR or talent development, you're a member of the Society for Human Resource Management or the Human Resource Certification Institute, well, the good news is these credits are accepted and count as continuing ed for you maintaining designations there. It also has been used by people who are maintaining their designation as a financial planner, as an attorney, a nurse, a mental health professional, so many different fields. So that's a true value add. Another significant thing you can look for with any of the training schools, and again, this will give you hundreds of options, is that they're a member of the Association of Coach Training Organizations. This is to coach training schools what ICF is to coaching. ACTO is a membership organization of schools. And when an organization belongs, it tells you the organization cares about their own growth and development. As members of ACTO, we attend conferences and monthly forums. We have discussions with our colleagues in coach training. We have competencies as coach trainers, and we have ethics as coach trainers. So it speaks to the school really caring about who they are for you. An added bonus, if any of you happen to be in the world of image consulting, whether it's for public speaking, presence, branding, appearance, so many different areas in that world, our certified professional coach program is approved there as well. So that gives you an idea of some things that can indicate credibility. And I'm going to go further. I think who's in the class makes a difference because you gain so much from discussions in the classroom. And for us, it's so exciting to see who comes. The people in our programs tend to be highly educated, highly experienced people, and they add so much value. They come from all walks of life. The backgrounds are completely varied. It's so fun to get to know them. And I'm consistently amazed. Oh, never even thought about somebody in that field or what that was like. And it's just a totally new area. So absolutely love that. And then, yes, we have people from very closely related fields in the program as well. It makes for fabulous conversation and discussion. Ultimately, it's people who have a passion for empowering others. So whether they're from ATD, SHRM, HRCI, FPA, NSBA, AICI, they're in mental health, they're project managers, change managers, they care about other people and they care about empowering others. Whatever training program you go to, be sure it is very specifically developing the competencies of a coach. The International Coaching Federation gives us 8. and they have them organized in 4 different areas. The first is called the foundation. And in that area, the 2 competencies are demonstrates ethical practice and embodies a coaching mindset. Co-creating the relationship includes establishes and maintains agreements, cultivates trust and safety, and maintains presence. Communicating effectively includes listens actively and evokes awareness. And cultivating learning and growth includes facilitates client growth. Now, this is a simple list. There's a lot of detail to each of these competencies, and there are specific behaviors for demonstrating the competencies. You want a program that supports you developing that skill set specifically. Who benefits from coaching certification? Leaders, trainers, educators, consultants, managers, HR professionals, project managers, service providers, business owners. It is people from everywhere. Okay, so I love this question. I'm over 70, still working, and have executive leadership experience in healthcare. Is my age likely to work against me or in my favor? To me, my immediate reaction is to look at your experience. You have executive leadership experience, and that's going to serve you well, because when people hire a coach, they're looking for experience in a similar setting. And then on top of that, they want to know that you've got the methodology that you gained from the coach training. The age of the coach isn't a factor. It's not the same as it is when somebody's hiring somebody. It's more about, are you going to be effective serving them? And keep in mind, the coaching relationship is about the conversations you have, and it's 6 sessions to a year. So they aren't looking for you to have the level of expertise that you're going to be around for the next 30 years and working. So to me, I think it's going to be just fine either way. Whether somebody's younger or at this age, it's about the experience you have. So hopefully that answers that. All right, we talked about coaching skills as a career opportunity. Think about what's going on in the workplace. And yeah, I know everything changed with the pandemic. So 86% of employees think their bosses are uninspiring. Yeah, they may be staying in the job because they have to, they need it. Does that mean they're fully engaged and as productive as possible? Not necessarily. It is part of a learning culture, and that makes a difference in organizational success. So coaching as a skill set supports you being more effective in whatever role you're in. As far as our own skill development priorities, learning coaching includes the communication skills, and these serve us well wherever we go. Our listening, our clear, direct, and respectful languaging, the questions that we ask, our people skills, recognizing and adjusting to different styles, and then goal setting. It is fascinating to me how many people talk about goals that even the way they're defined is getting in the way of them successfully achieving them. So the process for being successful with those. In terms of a business opportunity, the range for coaching services is from $100 an hour to $3,500 an hour. And yes, I'm giving you US numbers. These translate in Europe, different parts of the world. It can vary depending on what the scale is in comparison. So please do translate accordingly. The median rate is $500 per hour for the coaching services. And by the way, if I think somebody was asking about that before, let me boil that down. If somebody is doing life or career coaching and you're hired by an individual, you're most commonly in the 100 to 200 per hour range. If somebody is doing business coaching, working with small business owners, it tends to be in the $200 to $400 per hour range. And if you're doing executive coaching, working with leaders in the corporate space, it tends to be in the $400 to $600 range. So hopefully that helps boil that down. Currently, $2.356 billion US dollars are being invested worldwide in coaching. As of November last year, which is the most recent number I found so far, ICF had 38,249 member coaches. I'm guessing they're over 40,000 by now. And of those, probably 20,000 are ACC level certified, probably 13,500 to 14,000 have the PCC level credential, and fewer than 1,500 at the MCC credential level. So that gives you some insight in terms of what people do as on their coaching journey. For a business, clearly it's a fabulous add-on service, or if it's pure coaching, part-time or full-time is the service you provide. The training that we do at the Center for Coaching Certification is based on the CCC model. The first C stands for competence. And what we look at is the people coming into the program bring strengths and bring skills. The clients come to the table with strengths and skills, and it's about creating the synergy. Confidence is absolutely essential for success in a coaching relationship. We're talking confidence in the coach, confidence in the coaching process, and confidence in the client and their ability to move forward. So it's about the tools, holding people as fully empowered, the awareness of this as a factor, and then choice. Coaching is about client choice, supporting them, partnering with them so they discover and strategize. The classes themselves that we offer. The first level training is called the Certified Professional Coach. It starts with a series of online classes. We have a lot of fun in this program. So the first class is called About Coaching. We talk about what it is and is not, very much modeling an initial conversation you have with somebody. We move into being effective as a coach, and we do an overview of the coaching competencies. Then we move into ethics. Come ready to have fun. Sometimes I say I geek out on ethics. I have a lot of fun with ethics. We're going to talk about different scenarios, things that come up, what to notice, what to be aware of, significant points to consider. Then we move into understanding your client. The request I have in the class, and I know all of our trainers are doing this, is come to this class with your sense of humor. We're talking about people, and of course, we're all people too, and we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. It's important to be able to laugh at ourselves. And in this class, we're talking about how you as a coach can truly be present to that other person, who they are, and flexing to them based on who they are. Then in the class on communication, we cover very specific techniques for listening, for your language, and for the questions you ask. Focus and motivation is absolutely powerful. It's an awareness of how people learn, which plays into effectively communicating with them and empowering them. We talk about language patterns and thought patterns because those make a difference in terms of setting a goal and being motivated moving forward. With each of the classes, you do have a homework assignment. It is part of the hours for the program. We'll give you specific questions to answer. You'll write up, and it's about reflecting, deepening your own learning, and send that in. And then we do a group session, a fabulous opportunity to ask whatever questions you want to ask and to deepen the conversation around significant pieces along that coaching journey. And then we move into the practicum. And the coaching practicum is in class, being partnered with others in class. So you have an opportunity to coach. You'll experience being coached, was so incredibly important if we're going to learn to coach effectively. And you'll have a chance to observe coaching. And the trainer is right there supporting you all the way through that. At the end, we walk through a case study together, literally step by step, and you'll be filling that in, and that serves as your final. That's how you graduate with your CPC. After certification, we do have a free monthly Q&A call for you. We give you access to recordings on the business of coaching, on marketing yourself as a coach, coaching sessions, and of course, continuing education. The Certified Master Coach program, again, a series of online classes. The first one is called Group and Team Coaching. And we do that first because part of the coaching practicum is doing group coaching. It adds so much value to what you offer as a coach. And what's so interesting to me is we have people come to the program thinking, yeah, I never thought I was going to do that as a coach. I'm definitely doing that as a coach. That we hear that 90% of the time. It's a fabulous opportunity. Then we move into a deep dive of the different areas of competencies. So we start with ethics and agreements, and we talk about what we do want to be doing with each of the competencies. And then we also are having a conversation. Hey, how does this play into it? How does that play into it? In the coaching process, we deep dive in the second area of competency, and again, discussion on the different elements involved. People in communication, creating change with confidence. And then we move into a class on time and money. And that's interesting. Think about it this way. Just as time and money are a consideration for you in choosing coaching certification, most of the decisions people make involve time and money considerations. They're influencing factors. There are additional influencing factors. We want to be aware of that. The final debrief is an opportunity to debrief the coaching practicum portion of the program. In the Master Coach program, your homework is divided in half. You do half before class and half after class. You'll have questions to respond to. You want to pull in real examples. The coaching practicum includes the scheduled group coaching sessions. You'll be the coach for one of them, and you'll participate in the other groups. And it also includes interviewing each other in class, selecting a coach, and scheduling one-on-one sessions with the coach, the client, and the trainer. So it's an incredible opportunity for that one-on-one attention. And then you complete a final report. For those of you continuing on to the PCC, the Certified Coach Specialist program includes a class exploring the competencies and especially the strength areas of a coach. And then we move into talking about nuances around engaging and understanding your clients with examples of how we're doing that effectively. The coaching relationship, client priority management, and setting the client up for their own future. We also do a class on challenges and trends that we experience as coaches, and we include a debrief. In this class, you'll have advanced reading, all of it's provided to you, and you'll have homework assignments. The coaching practicum will again include the group coaching and the individual coaching, and the final report serves as your final. For the coaching experience class, it's all about the experience. So in that program, we review the competencies and evaluating each other on the competencies, how to do that effectively. We'll do a webinar on group and team coaching, going further and deeper with how that works and setting that up. Then there'll be 6 group coaching sessions, one of which you'll be the coach. And you'll have 5 individual sessions as a coach, 5 as a client, and 5 that you'll observe via recording. At the end, there's a closing webinar. The mentor coaching program will include 3 individual sessions. One of them, we have a 360 of your coaching competencies that we developed to give you insight in terms of where you're at with those competencies. We'll talk about what's expected and required by ICF for your recording of your self-coaching. We'll discuss the PCC markers. We'll also, by the way, in the individual sessions, be reviewing those recordings. And then You'll have group sessions. So we do 5 of them. We discuss the competencies in that group and we do mini laser focused coaching to practice them. What's included with these programs? All of the class materials are included, everything. Your coach login access when you graduate with a wealth of resources there, the assessment dashboards that I was mentioning earlier. We support you in terms of opportunities. If you want to guest blog, guest present, whether it's a podcast or a webinar to get in front of another audience. We publish a book once a year with chapters written by graduates of the program. We have an online directory for coaches, and we have a business development team that is securing contracts for coaching services, and we're placing graduates in those opportunities. So we are actively looking for opportunities for you as a coach. Okay, next steps. Where do you go now? And I realize we're at time, so that's good. This will be quick. First off, because you're here and exploring with us, I want to give back to you. If you are interested in a 30-minute conversation, whether you're stuck and have more questions, you want experience coaching, whatever it is, when I email out the link to this recording on YouTube, you can respond to that, and I will send you a link to my calendar. The application itself for the program is free. And what it does is have you explore on paper your interest in coaching and coach training, and you're checking off the requirements. So it's really great for understanding what this is. And it gives us an opportunity to get to know you. When you know which class you want, the way to hold your spot in that class is to pay the registration on it. Having used our time, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time and your interest. I am happy to hang around if there are additional questions. You can put them in the chat box. You can put them in the Q&A panel. I think we've done well keeping up with everything that did come in. Happy to respond to additional questions. And yes, I'm seeing some of you have things scheduled. Absolutely. We are complete here. I will send out a link to the recording. So thank you for being here. And I appreciate your comments that I'm seeing in the chat box. I'm glad this was helpful to you. So thank you for that. That is the intention. Excellent. All right. So from what I'm seeing go by in the chat box, it seems we're complete. Seems you got the information you wanted. So that's good to know. I appreciate your thanks and I appreciate you being here. So thank you very much.